About the jab. Now, I think the best area to start with is probably the jab. The jab is so important to both guys, and both guys are so good with it in their own ways. Yeah, both guys are so good with the jab in their own ways. It's kind of like we watched the Chilemba Kovalev fight, and it's as a result of that fight, it's kind of like a reflex feeling that if Kovalev had issues with Chilemba's jab, it stands to reason that Ward's jab is going to give him a lot of issues. So you think of Andre Ward, and you think of probably the most versatile jab in the game, right? The variety of ways in which he uses it. It can be a range finder for him, but he has many more uses for it. You can go up and down with it. You can throw it as an up jab. He can feint with you. He can feint with it. He can jab. He can stab you in the chest with it. He can double it. He can treble it up. But the thing about Ward's jab is, even when he isn't hitting you with it, he's measuring you, or he's throwing you off with it. He's always doing something with it. And I mean, that jab is constantly there as an irritant, as an irritating factor, and it's a relatively heavy jab too. I mean, Andy spoke about this. Andy said, he's a guy who suspected, he said this in the chat many times actually, he suspected that Kovalev is a natural left-hander. You know, but we actually know that to be true of Ward. He is a natural lefty. He's a naturally lefty who boxes orthodox, so that accounts for the strength of SOG's left hand. Now, Kovalev is pretty good at countering over a jab with a right hand, but I can see that being nullified by the variety of Ward's jab, specifically his use of the up jab, as opposed to your textbook conventional jab, which he does also use. The up jab is really the punch for an opponent like Kovalev. You know, the punch for a guy like Ward to use against Kovalev. It's a great punch if you're not the rangy guy in the matchup, because Kovalev is the rangy guy here. So if you're in against a guy who's prone to throwing right hands, a rangy guy who's prone to throwing right hands, the posture of it is you invite him to throw a right hand. But as he's sizing it up and ready to throw, you come with that up jab, and then you can follow maybe with a right hand to the body or head. And if you ever watch Andre Ward, you see him do that a lot. If you watch him on the heavy bag, you see him working on that punch over and over and over. He'll throw that up jab and then screw the right hand into the body. And then you see that applied in the fights, like the La Bamba fight, Edwin Rodriguez, for instance. Ward has a really refined up jab. I think it's the best in the sport. You know, if Floyd was still active, I would still say that Ward's up jab was the best in the sport. I really like watching Ward use that punch. And it's actually Tommy. Tommy is a student of Jeff Mayweather. I know he is. I've seen Tommy mention Jeff Mayweather's videos, and Jeff Mayweather loves that up jab. He talks about it a lot. You know,
spear jab.
Yeah, and the spear jab. I'm going to get to that, man. I'm going to get to the spear jab. But as for Kovalev's jab, now that's a very heavy jab. One of the strongest in the game today. That's one of the heaviest jabs in the game today. And that's actually... Everybody knows I'm a Golovkin critic, but that's one thing I will give to Golovkin is that the force of his jab has never been in question. You know, but Kovalev's jab is right up there in terms of it being used as an actual weapon of destruction. It's that kind of jab where when it lands, you can see its force in the reaction of the guy it's landing on. You can see it in their face, their facial expression. It's a well-timed jab. And though it's not as technically versatile a jab as Ward's, he can mix it up in the ways he uses it. For instance, he doesn't always just throw... You guys hear me still?
Yep.
He doesn't always just throw a 1-2. Sometimes he's going to throw that 1-2, then he's going to come with a double jab behind it. So it's a lot more difficult to read and evade, and you'll need that in this one. Like Kovalev, if he's to beat Ward, he really needs to vary things up. He's going to need that, because if he's throwing a basic 1-2 all night, Ward is going to start slipping to the outside and getting him with spear jab. But if Kovalev is he can get a well-timed jab going in this fight, that's massive for him. That's a real big deal for him. If Kovalev can get his jab going in this fight, that's huge. And because I think Ward's use of the jab is so constant and so varied that you don't even really question whether or not he's going to be able to get his jab going. You just expect it. Do you know what? You guys know what I'm talking about. With Ward, you expect his jab to be a factor. You just expect it. It's what you expect from him. So the question is about, can Kovalev resist that hypnotizing effect that Ward's left hand has on fighters? And can he jab with him and compete with him in a battle of the jabs? I think a lot of attention generally gets paid to Kovalev's jab to the body. And that's fair enough.
I believe he broke Cedric Agnew's rib with it.
But listen, Dave. When he points that jab downstairs, it's more than just a strategic punch. It's a debilitating punch. But in this particular fight, I don't think the jab to the body is going to be a factor in his favor, and I'll explain why when if we get to the subject of control and range. I'll tell you why I don't think Kovalev's jab is going to be a big factor in this fight, at least to the body. You know, if he focuses on using the jab as a point scoring weapon, I think the jab can be a factor for Kovalev, and I think that's where he needs to concentrate on the jab as a point scoring weapon. I don't think a lot of people have speculated about that jab to the body, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal. When we talk about control of range, we talk about the issue of control and range. That shit incorporates feints and footwork. And that's areas that both guys are very competent in. And when it comes to Ward, you're talking about a master of the feint. He's just going to feint away with that jab. And it just hypnotizes a lot of guys. It puts them to sleep. And I think with the casual fans, it puts them to sleep too. You know, but at the end of the day, this is boxing. You know, when it comes to a guy like Ward, he ain't trying to excite you. He's trying to win the fight. He can use that feint jab to bait you in and keep baiting you, and when you finally bite on it, you can end up being baited into something that is ineffectual or clumsy, and he's going to capitalize on it at that moment because he's thinking moves ahead of you. And add to that, he's a fast guy. You know, quickness isn't just about your physical quickness, it's about the mind, the quickness of the mind, how far ahead you're thinking. He's thinking very fast ahead, and he's a physically quick guy, so everything is fast with him. You know, I mean, you take, for example, the jab to the body of Kovalev. We just spoke about that. I just said earlier, I don't think it's going to be a factor in his favor in this matchup because Ward's feet are going to be keeping him just out of the edge of range. He's constantly measuring and annoying and baiting Kovalev with that left hand. And Kovalev is going to think of a reliable weapon. He's going to jab to the body. And because of Ward's mastery of range with his feet, Kovalev's going to have to reach, and he's going to fall short, and that allows Ward to capitalize with a clean right hand or a spear jab, while Kovalev is in that vulnerable moment where he's open to attack. But I think if we get onto this further down the line, we'll get more into counter punching. Sorry, guys, we'll get more into counter punching further down the discussion. Right. But as far as the
is that the jab? That's the jab then.
As far as the Kovalev jab to the body, as far as his jab to the body, a lot of people have speculated about the jab to the body. I don't think it's going to be a factor in Kovalev's favor. I think if he jabs to the body, he's going to be punished. As I've just said, I think that gives Ward a lot of options. Everybody talks about the Kovalev jab to the body because it's so punishing. But I don't think, I'm not ruling out Kovalev's jab per se, but to the body, I don't think that's a punch he's necessarily going to thrive with. Because that gives Ward options. They're two different kinds of counter punches. They are both great counter punches. Kovalev is a really quality counter puncher, but there's a difference between how they counter punch. With regard to counter punching, if we look at the difference in their counter punching style and the counter punching options that are potentially there for both guys, there are a few things on both sides that you can see. And I've thought about this fight a lot, which is why I wanted in on this particular discussion. I've thought about this fight a lot, and there's so many areas that you can cover.
I think you thought about it more than all of the rest of the panel combined.
Oh boy, this is why I wanted a big space for this fight before the fight actually happens. There are a few things on both sides that you can see. Ward is more the type counter puncher who's going to make you commit to something and then capitalize. He's more like a Mayweather kind of counterpuncher, you know what I mean? Whereas Kovalev is more the type counterpuncher who's looking to time your punches and punch with you. He's looking to punch with you, and he's so good at that. So they're both excellent counterpunchers, but they're quite different in how they go about their business. So Ward, he's going to be looking to beat Kovalev to the punch from the outside. But at the same time, he's also going to be looking to walk Kovalev into situations that he can capitalize on. He's going to be looking to make him commit first.
Ward's going to be, he's going to be looking to be at distance or up close, isn't he? He's not going to be looking to be in the 3/4 range.
Yeah, he's not going to be looking to be in the middle. He's going to look, when it comes to counterpunching, preferably, he's going to be looking to make the guy miss first, and then he's going to be looking to make him pay. Whereas Kovalev is looking to, all right, give me an example with regard to Kovalev. He's going to be looking to land his right hand to the body, and that would be a good investment for him. But there's an opening there for Ward as well in that scenario, because he has a real good left hook. And when Kovalev throws his right hand to the body, Ward can make him pay a cost for it by countering with the hook. And I remember Ismail Silak, for the three minutes he lasted before he got concussed. You know, he was actually able to counter Kovalev that way with the left hook when Kovalev threw his right hand to the body. Another counterpunch for Ward, and this one has to be real fast. And this is a Hopkins one. Hopkins uses this one. He has to slip the jab to the outside and then come with a real fast right hand left hook combination, with the emphasis on the left hook being the important punch in the combination. And that's going to knock Kovalev back in his tracks for a second or two. And as he's resetting, Ward should come over the low left hand, because Kovalev keeps his left hand low, right? He should come over his left with a right hand and roll under and get out. And that's the Hopkins move. I actually saw Hopkins do that in a couple of times. It was one of the few moments that Hopkins had success. And Ward's got the kind of speed. He's got the kind of speed and timing to pull that off. But returning again to Kovalev's jab to the body, I mentioned earlier about how that offers counter-attacking opportunity for Ward, because he can make that quick and subtle alteration of the range to make you fall short and then pop you with his spear jab, which knocks the fire off balance. And the spear jab is a kind of blinding punch as well, because of the way it's thrown. It really focuses on that whole optical area of the face. Well, when you land it, you're looking to push that right into the whole eye area of the face.
Hey, Seb, not that I want to rain on your parade or anything, but have you taken into account the fact that this could end early, like in the first round or something?
Yes, I have. The thing is, because of the power of Kovalev, this is a fight that I mean, I'm picking Ward here, but it's with a caveat. It's with a caveat that you look at if we were to, I don't think we have time to really break it down in every single area. But
we really don't. I'm sorry, we really don't.
If you were to break it down in every area of this fight, you would see that both guys are closely matched in every area, or in most areas. But you would give Ward a slight edge that gives him you would assume that Ward can win an 8-4, 9-3 type of fight. You know, maybe 8-4 at most, but you would think Ward has an edge in enough areas. You would think that he can win this fight about 9-3, 8-4 at most for Kovalev. But then again, there's this equalizing factor that is the power. And Kovalev can hurt you with glancing punches. He can hurt you with punches that look innocuous, that don't look like a big deal. You know what I mean? So that's the equalizing factor. You think Ward should be able to do enough to win a 9-3 fight, and I am picking Ward. Provisionally, I'm picking Ward. Let it go on record that I'm saying Ward will win this fight, but I won't be surprised if Kovalev stops Ward early or late. It really isn't a surprise, because the power is that significant a factor, and he's not his puncher's chance isn't just an average puncher's chance, because he can set his punches up. He knows what he's doing in there. But when it comes to counter punching, just to close my little section of this, we were talking about counter punching, and Kovalev is good at counter punching. He's good at true counter punching, which is timing and punching with a guy. You know, you're punching the split second after that guy lets go. You know, reading comprehension. Kovalev's very good at it. This is an area that both guys are very skilled in. Is actually reading the other guy, and this is why this fight is a fight of micro battles. Really, there's so many little micro battles going on in the fight, and that's why if we really truly wanted to break down the fight, it would take a long time. But we've seen Kovalev hurt people with a right hand as they're leading with a hook. So Andre Ward needs to avoid leading with that left hook, which he is ordinarily good at. But we've seen that Kovalev can counter that with his right hand. We've seen that against Silad. I mean, he badly hurt Silad. If Ward's going to lead with the left hook, he needs to be flawless with his timing. And that is a strong point of his. You know, his timing is impeccable much more often than not. But with this guy, Sergey Kovalev, who can punch so devastatingly, it has to be on point every time. And for the same reason, I mentioned this earlier when we were discussing the jab. Because Kovalev is very good at countering over the jab with the right hand, Ward needs a lot of variation in his jab, and not to throw a conventional jab all the time. And the up jab, I mentioned, it's a great tool for him in this fight against a tall and rangy fighter. So Ward can adjust his height and he can get low, and that up jab kind of changes the game for him a bit. But again, that jab variety is something that Ward practices anyway, so you expect it of him. So those potential counters are there for Kovalev.
Yeah.
The right hand over the lead left hook, the right hand over the conventional jab. The opportunities are going to be limited